Welcome to Three Questions, where critical thinking is king, and my opinions and research are only here to support your learning and understanding. Hey, I'm your host, Megan, and I'm so honored you clicked on Three Questions today so we can talk about Pilates and weight training. Which is better? Which one should you do? Well, hopefully at the end of this episode, you'll have some answers and a lot more questions. So right off the bat, many of you might know me as a Pilates teacher. I have been teaching Pilates since 2001, but I am also a certified strength and conditioning specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. God, that was a lot of words. To be honest, my certification has expired because I stuck with correspondence, and I really didn't need that certification anymore because these days I'm working with neurological conditions, and the athletes that come to me don't care about a certification. That's the truth. But my passion and my background was always in sports-specific training, which is probably why I know so many random facts about sports. Now, that goes in here because my undergrad and master's were in exercise science and applied physiology. So I know the science behind things. And what I want to clear up is what unfortunately happens on Instagram and podcasts. People take one piece of research and apply it to whatever they're trying to sell, teach, or do. And it becomes very confusing and decisive. So I kind of have a rule of thumb. Anybody who makes a statement about anything like this is better, this is worse, they're just not looking at the full picture. And I've seen a lot of good press and bad press for Pilates. Some of it's true, some of it's not. But I want you to understand what I'm looking for in Pilates and weight training to help you to figure out if that's the same thing you're looking for. And to also offer different options if you're like, hey, Meg, that's not what I'm looking for. All right, so let's get into it a little bit. Some things you'll hear a lot about the negatives of Pilates is it is not enough weight-bearing exercise for building muscle and building strength. Now, what they normally use in that defense is the idea of progressive overload. So this might be a term new to you or a term you're hearing all the time. I hear it in a lot of Instagram posts used incorrectly or correctly, but not the full picture. Now, what does progressive overload mean? It really means challenging your system so that it can build resiliency and do more. How do we do that? Well, there's actually two ways. Through increased repetition without necessarily increasing the weight, or by increasing the weight and not necessarily the repetition. Now, there's different people saying this method is best for this. The research doesn't show that, guys. However, that doesn't mean it's not true based off that person's sensory preferences and their goals. So I'm not good with names. So the study that is used a lot in the defense of progressive overload is by Plotkin et al. It's the journal that it's in is PeerJ, and the most recent, it was posted in 2022. So in the past 3 years. Now, I'm currently finishing my doctorate, and what we're always looking for is research within the past 5 years. But something that's super interesting is that some of the research is based off bad research of the past that was never peer reviewed. So research can be tricky. And if you really want to read research, guys, you have to read the whole research article. I know it takes time. And a lot of times it's hard to understand it. But there's tools now, Perplexity or what can't I think of? Microsoft Copilot, stuff like that. You can give them the study and say, hey, can you summarize this to me? And can you summarize it without any bias? Do I have bias by saying this? Those are some helpful tools to help you wade through all the garbage. But what I'm going to really point out here, I'm looking at the chart that was in the results. So what is used to disregard Pilates is that you can't do progressive overload, which is total bullshit. You can. However, many Pilates teachers are not teaching that way. Let me explain. So the idea of you're not really able to increase the load significantly enough to make a change or adaptation on the muscles to build strength, okay? But as this research study says, for muscle growth, strength gains, and endurance. Both increasing the weight without increasing the reps and increasing the reps without increasing the weight are both equally effective. Yes, both equally effective. Now, what's interesting is for strength gains, slightly better, slightly significant. So the numbers show just a slight significance for increasing weight for strength gains and slightly better for muscular endurance for increasing reps and not increasing the weight. Okay? So what does that mean for us? Well, if you don't like lifting heavy loads because your body can't respond to those loads, maybe you have a hypermobility disorder, maybe, I don't know, you're going through menopause and your proprioception's changing, you can use a lower weight and increase your repetition and still get progressive overload. You can still get muscular growth and you will be building endurance slightly more than strength, but you will still be getting both. Now, if somebody says any different, ask them to show you the research study that has a significant showing of one versus the other. Now, this is something researchers don't like to talk about. Last year, the year before, I don't know, COVID confuses me. We did a research study looking at the neuro-based Pilates and its effect on balance and gait for people with MS. Now, if you just read the results, it says that seated neuro Pilates using the 4-quadrant stability model improves balance and I believe it was walking speed. But if you read the research study, this is my research study, is you can't hide shit. It wasn't significant enough. It wasn't significant enough for me, but we learned so much. So in research studies, guys, you should not be looking to confirm your bias. You should be looking to poke holes in it and figure out where we can get better. What I figured out in that study was in the effort of teaching people the concepts, there was less movement. So the group that didn't get the education was moving more. So look at that. Sometimes just moving can give benefits, which that's when we can all just chill. Cool, I guess. But again, why I'm bringing up my study is bringing the honesty to what's actually happening here. Now let's talk about question number 1. What are you training for? What are your goals and what do you enjoy? It was a 3-parter, question 1. So what are you training for? Do you need to build significant strength in linear movements? Are you doing a CrossFit competition? Are you looking to bodybuild? Are you looking to increase your performance at the gym, get your max, feel good about yourself, feel strong as hell? Well, maybe you want to increase the load rather than lowering the weight and doing more repetitions. There was slight difference. Okay. But you can also get those same strength gains from just doing increased repetition. So that brings in the second part. What do you actually enjoy? Because if you don't enjoy lifting heavy, you're not going to do it. You're not going to get those goals. If you prefer lifting a little lighter with more repetition and you'll be able to achieve your goals, that's what you should do. So please don't let progressive overload make you think you're not doing enough in the gym with weight training. Now let's talk Pilates. Pilates is often not that many reps at each exercise. But there are concepts you see throughout, okay? So a lot of the exercises are actually same position, but in a different body configuration. I'd like to say that again. Your body is in the same position, but you're just either prone, supine, standing, or something like that. So like a roll down is the same thing as a roll up. A roll down, you're standing. A roll up, you're lying on your back, rolling up. We're still doing full spinal flexion and hip flexion, okay? But the problem is, if you want to get progressive overload by using Pilates, that's not how Joseph Pilates designed it. He picked certain repetitions, slower, less repetitions for the more advanced exercises. Okay? Now, I'm fine with you going out of the classical repertoire and increasing the repetition to get progressive overload in that movement. I could also argue because there's different shapes and concepts, if we found a specific sensory input, like for me, not changing the distance between the tongue and the jaw or your ear while you're doing spinal flexion, if you use that same sensory focus in different exercises, we could argue there'll be neuroplasticity in that pattern. And if we continue to do repetitions, we'll get stronger there, which is why you sometimes don't do a specific Pilates exercise for like years because you like forget about it. But you've been practicing those same concepts with different sensory loads in different body positions, and you can do it again. Okay? So just be clear about what you're doing in Pilates. Also, classical Pilates has a more full body approach. Okay? I hate when people say Pilates is mind, body, mind, muscle. All movement is mind, body. When you're at the gym weight training, the sensory input coming from the weights and your sensory environment is going to dictate the motor output of what you're doing. So everything's mind, body. The difference is in Pilates, there's more emphasis on spinal position and, in my opinion, a little bit more emphasis on what's stabilizing versus what's mobilizing. Now, to be honest, I see a lot of lack of stability in Pilates where people think they're stabilizing, but they're gripping. But I see the same shit in weight training. Packing your lats for a kettlebell swing is giving your body a specific sensory input to do one thing. But the problem is those people doing that often can't do a pull-up because their hands and their shoulders and their lats cannot adjust to that sensory input because you can only get a lat connection when you're digging in and compressing it, never in a lengthened position or a full movement position. Remember, I'm not saying everybody, it's what we see a lot. And why do we see this shit a lot, guys? Because we all move in unique patterns based off our sensory environment and what our brain thinks is safe. Then people are cueing us how to do it better when they don't understand how it feels in our body. That doesn't mean trainers are frauds. That would be saying I'm a fraud. I look at it as I'm a translator. I'm bringing information to my client where there's some gaps and letting their brain fill it in with information. Okay? So to review question 1, because we talked about a lot. You guys know I go off topic. Oftentimes I get to a point. Sometimes I don't. But I'd like to make the point here. What are you training for? Are you looking to maintain strength? Are you looking to build strength? Are you trying to build endurance? Are you just trying to be strong and feel good in your own skin and be able to lift things, get muscle mass, have enough metabolic drive to keep your body alive and potentially make it through the premenopause, perimenopause, the menopause years? Okay. Also for men as they age, something to be concerned about as well. So think about your goals and think about if the movement modality you're using can fill those goals. And rather trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, maybe you just continue to do Pilates to improve your proprioception, to improve your body's ability to respond and make different shapes. Okay? We stabilize the spine in certain positions and then move the limbs, right? Now, weight training, you guys kind of do the same. You're trying to isolate limbs and bring it all together. But in weight training, sometimes things get so segmented and just one specific muscle group that you're not seeing how the rest of the body is responding. And that's why a lot of people get fatigued and injured. Now, something interesting in this study, it really stood out to me, was that remember when I said the slightly better strength gains, it wasn't globally in the body. This particular study was looking at lower body exercises, and it was in the rectus femoris, one of the quadricep muscles. Okay? So, when we're thinking about movement, ask your body what it needs today, which takes me to question number 2. What are your sensory preferences? What I mean is, can you feel this? What do I mean by that? Do you feel your muscles more when you lift heavier weights or lighter weights? I don't like when people poo-poo light weights. Not because when people start talking slow twitch, fast twitch, I just want to be like, where are you getting this information from? What I'm talking about is sensory preferences. Personally, before I tell you what I feel, I want you to ask what you feel. Do you like to lift heavy with your upper body? Do you like to lift heavy with your lower body? How does it feel in your hands when you hold a heavy weight or a kettlebell? Does it hurt or does it feel easy, good? What does it feel like in your feet when you're pushing a heavy load or squatting with a big bar on your back? Does it feel easy? Like, not easy, but like, oh my God, I can do this? Or do you feel like you're collapsing in your feet and you get pain in joints? What does it feel like? Right? They tell hypermobile people just to start weight training. Lift heavier loads. That doesn't always help. I work with a lot of people on the EDS spectrum or people who have proprioceptive issues for neurological conditions, and more weight is not always better. And there are also people that their body doesn't respond until a huge sensory input is given to them. So right now, if you're watching me on YouTube, I want everybody to do this actually right now. Take your right hand, press it into your right leg, and the right leg into the right hand as much as humanly possible. Okay, go for it. Go big, go big, go big, go big, go big. Now, touch your right hand into your right leg and press them into each other as little as possible until you feel something. Some of you might feel it immediately. Some of you might not feel it until you're at the max. That's telling me something about your sensory preferences and how you're responding to pressure through the skin. Okay? A lot of times when people hold heavy weights and kettlebells, it hurts the hands, hurts my wrists. That's because the sensory information from the hands, the shoulders can't respond to that. A drill I do, and I want to encourage everybody to try this. You know those big water jugs, like the Poland Spring bottles? You know, they got the handles. What I like to do, I bend down, grab them, just squeeze them gently with my hands, nothing major, okay? And then I grab it and I try to stand up almost like a deadlift without changing the pressure at my hand, okay? And everybody's like, that's not humanly possible. And then they start spouting physics, yet they've never taken a physics class. Yes, it is possible. The muscles of your hand should react. Your shoulders, the rest of your body should respond. If your hand gives way or your wrist gives way or your elbow, that's where the sensory information is stopping. And how I got good at this is what I would have to do. So if you got one of these water bottles or just grab a heavyweight, okay? Reach down, take your opposite hand. And what I'm doing is I'm making an L with my left hand, touching my clavicle with my thumb, and I'm touching the top of my shoulder with my pointer finger. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see. And if not, again, make an L with your left hand. Cross it over to your right shoulder. Touch your top of your shoulder, kind of the square part, and part of your clavicle. Then bend over, grab the water bottle. And if you can't respond at your hand, what I want you to do is as you stand up, don't change the distance between your fingers. Try that, okay? So sometimes you can respond to heavy load, but you just don't have the distal ability to stabilize, or you need more proximal sensory information to get the job done. Everybody's super different. Now, same thing for your feet and legs. Do you feel better when you're pushing heavy load? Or do you feel your glute muscles more when it's a lighter load? Now, for me, due to my sensory preferences, when I'm feeling disconnected from my body, I like to do open chain work on my lower body and push lighter load. And I like to do heavy load in my upper body. Then once I get my body feeling back connected, my goal is to challenge myself because I want my legs to respond to a heavy load. I mean, damn, I'm like, I don't know, 138 pounds. I might be even heavier. I don't know. I have lower body fat, but I'm like pretty freaking dense. Although I feel like my body fat is getting worse as I age, but whatever. This happens. Aging is a privilege, right? Isn't that what they tell us? But so I'm standing around. I've got to hold up all that weight, right? So if you weigh more than me, you've got to carry around that weight. Maybe you do better with a heavier load. Maybe you're a lot smaller than me and you do better with a lighter load. All this is information. So ask yourself what your sensory preferences are. Start there. When I lift light weights, oh my God, my shoulder organization is such dog shit. It's so bad. It's like embarrassing. But literally, if I took a 40-pound kettlebell, I'm not joking, and pressed it up, my mechanics look great. I take a 5-pound weight, it looks like I've never lifted a weight in my life. It's like my body doesn't know where the hell I am in space. Okay, but here's the damn problem, guys. I need you to respond to both because you're going to move things. You're going to touch things with your upper body, right? But also you walk, and walking is open chain in the upper body, right? I see a lot of my clients, their shoulders feel better when they hold things. Their walking's better when they hold things. Yeah, because they need more sensory information through their hands. When they're walking and swinging their arm, they don't feel the air flowing by them. Their shoulders aren't getting enough information. Now let's talk about lower body, right? If I want to explode off my feet, jump, play a sport, I need my feet to respond to different loads, different surfaces, different speeds. So what I want you guys to hear is, based off question 1, what are your goals and what are your sensory preferences? Your workout should be based off that. Yeah. My goals are, I still love to play tennis, but my goals are actually to be able, is living. Like, I want to be able to respond to anything. I want to be able to lift the 2 water bottles and walk by myself. I want to be able to carry my 35-pound beagle in 85-degree weather when he gets overheated without my back hurting. I want to play with my niece and nephew and do ridiculous shit and cartwheels and rolls and stuff like that without getting injured at 43. Okay? So I train my body to respond to various sensory input. When it comes to tennis, though, I need to train my body to respond as a whole. I can't just turn my head. I need my whole body to turn. I need not just my upper body to rotate, which I love to do. I need my hips to move around my pelvis more. So I like Pilates because there's a lot more exercises that encourage that. Then after I do my Pilates and create new movement patterns, I can then challenge it in the gym doing lunges and rotation and getting my pelvis to spiral. A big problem I have with traditional weight training is how linear it is. But Pilates is linear too. It's a little too linear for me. So there's a lot of modalities. You don't see people talking about rotational. So when I'm doing heavy weights, I'm not just pressing up linear because that's not helping me in my day-to-day life. I am working on rotation and pressing, okay? Getting the integration of my body, my force. And I've got to say this based off my goals and what I enjoy. My strength has not suffered not weight training 3 times a week, which I used to do. I am just as strong, if not stronger, than I was. Because strength comes from more than just moving weight or body weight. It comes from your body being able to respond to the load. Okay? Now, question 3 is where I want to get into a little bit more nuance of muscle strength. So weight training is not the only way to build muscle strength. Eating protein also helps with muscle adaptation, right? So it's really important to understand that exercise isn't always great for everybody. If you are not able to process the information or feel the load that you're trying to move, it can actually break down muscles, cause injuries. And if you want to lose strength fast, get injured. That's the best way to lose strength. Get injured. Now, I'm not saying injuries don't happen. Okay? They do. I get injuries, but I look at them as, crap, there was a huge sensory gap I missed. So, after I had a giant piece of skin cancer removed, a giant piece of my skin and my deltoid had to be removed. Okay? So from there, it's not a mobility issue at this point. Okay? I've had scar tissue treatments. It's a stability issue. But the problem has arose because there were stability issues elsewhere that created painful patterns in my left arm. That's just one example. So lifting heavy can make those problems worse. And we don't know we have an injury until we do. Most injuries I work with are overuse injuries. Injuries we didn't see coming because we don't take the time to assess the sensory environment and to see if what our goal, our movement goal, is actually happening. Okay? So can we all be right and wrong at the same time? Yes, we can. This other study, oh my God, I'm going to butcher these people's names. Okay. Kristific, Willick, Wojola, and Golis. Sorry if I butchered your names. So what was really interesting about this study is they looked at all resistance training techniques, right? High weight, low repetition. I can't list them all off the top of my head, but all the ones you guys know or read about, right? Repetition max, Olympic lifting, blood flow restriction, all this stuff. And even though most of these techniques and methods did not show a superior hypertrophy response compared to the traditional approach, they may serve as an alternative to prevent monotony, or it could improve readiness to training sessions. What? So what I just heard is every resistance training technique can be good or can be bad. Does it break the monotony for you? Let me tell you, I hate doing the same workout twice. Oh my God. That was the best thing I gave to myself. If I do a workout once, I never want to do that same workout again. My brain does not like monotony. I don't think it ever did, but I gave myself permission in my 40s to not do that. Okay? So how do we break the monotony? Stay focused neurologically to get the adaptations from the movements. Okay, another concept that people sometimes talk about or sometimes don't is the SAID principle, specific adaptation to imposed demands. Okay, we talk about this in sport-specific training. Like, if you want to increase your speed, you've got to do things that increase your speed. If you want to improve your rotation, you've got to do rotation. Now, what's happened with that is people take that too literal, and I see these Pilates trainings for tennis and rotational sports, and oh my God, it's actually going to screw up people's game. I watched an exercise that they said this is good for a tennis serve, and I nearly had to grab my pearls. Doing what this woman was saying, when a top Pilates educator, would actually totally screw up your serve. She was not including the rotation, the lateral flexion, and the integration from foot to hand of the racket. Wasn't talking about the visual system, wasn't talking about the integration of the systems. That is not going to help your sport, okay? Doing Pilates, just in general. I'd rather my athletes do classical Pilates than some of these classes for specific sports, because these specific movements, I had a golfer say to me, oh, my Pilates teacher told me I had to keep my pelvis square. And I'm like, not if you want to golf well. That pelvis has to move. The knee has to bend. There's got to be rotation. Okay? Even good golfers know you don't actually have to keep your head down. Most golfers don't. Okay? You have to keep your head down if you don't have a big enough visual field, right? The head down is more about the visual field for me and how the shoulders can respond. See how this shit is all complicated? So if you're a Pilates teacher, one of the best things you can do for your athlete is teach them classical Pilates with variations to break the monotony. Help them move their body in unique patterns, respond to different loads, take different auditory critiques, and see how their body takes the shape, right? And if you do weight training, love it. Give some variety. Get out of this linear movement. Okay, hypertrophy doesn't mean better sports performance. There's a saying, I don't mean to disrespect women or men here, but there's a saying, look like Tarzan, play like Jane. Something my husband always said, and one of the reasons why he got injured. A Tarzan, who was on the line next to him as an offensive lineman, had terrible balance. He had terrible balance because he focused on the weight room. And the weight room was building hypertrophy and strength in specific movement patterns, not in a full range of motion. Because with that much hypertrophy, you cannot really move in a full range of motion. It affects your proprioception and your brain, your visual, vestibular, and proprioception's ability to respond, right? So his balance was shit. And when a guy came at him at a different speed or direction than a bench press, he couldn't handle that load, fell on my husband, took his tibia off his femur. Enough said, okay? So don't think strength in doing exercises is going to improve sports performance, okay? Teach your athletes how to respond with heavy weights, with light weights. Can you do that same exercise with that same integrity at a low weight or no weight or with your eyes closed or with this visual target? Mix that shit up. Find out where your athletes are the slowest. Is it when they're on the left side of the field, the right side of the field? Ask important questions, because we are all 100% right that building strength is important, but we're all wrong when we think there's one way to get there. Okay? Now, this is just one study There are a lot of other studies that will say this technique is good for hypertrophy. Look at the sample size. Look at the people they were studying. Usually it's men, not because researchers hate women, but women have a menstrual cycle, and that can be confusing. Also, depending on your menstrual cycle, that phase, your proprioception is going to be different. Okay, this is why weight training is now being big for menopausal women. I love it. Get moving, feel good about yourself. But your proprioception is shifted. Don't do what people in their 20s are doing. Figure out how to feel your body, how your body responds to load, and use it. So like our weighted vest's a good idea. A student just asked me. I said, yeah and no. Not for you, because you just had an injury. You have to work on your foot-hip connection. And it sounds like to me you want to bypass that. And then I said, but hold on. You're pretty light. You're pretty slim. Bring your weighted vest to our next session. I want to see if increasing the load on your body gives your brain more proprioception and fixes the foot to hip. See how I just contradicted myself? Not because I care if I'm right or wrong. I'm curious. Let's see what the problem is. Maybe the lightness you have is interfering with your body's response, or maybe you are too heavy for what your body likes. And like I hate when doctors say, oh, lose weight, your knee will stop hurting. Bullshit. Unless you remap your sensory response. If you lose or gain weight, your feet may not respond different. I don't know. I've worked with a lot of significantly overweight clients, some of which who had gastric bypass that still didn't lose the weight. Why? Because their body does not respond at a lighter weight. Every time she would lose the weight, she would gain it back. Now, she had gastric bypass, so I know she wasn't overeating. If she would overeat, she would get violently sick. Okay? And I'm not going to go into the psychology and the nutrition aspect of it. I'm going with she's really, really hypermobile, post-menopause, her proprioception needed a reboot. Okay? So we've talked about a lot, and I'm running over. I always like to keep these at 30 minutes. So to rehash, progressive overload can be achieved with increasing the weight and not the reps, or increasing the reps and not the weight. Decide which you enjoy better, and I'd love to challenge you to do the other as well. If your body can only respond to lightweight, it can only respond to lightweight. If your body can only respond to heavyweight, it can only respond to heavyweight. Both are important, and both should be incorporated into your movement program. And please understand, movement can be done outside of the gym. Doing your laundry, bending down, picking things up are all exercises. I can even argue they're more unique exercises. Really take the time to identify your sensory preferences. I did a whole podcast episode on that. And if you need help, reach out. I can connect you with one of the thousands of NeuroStudio teachers around the world, or one of our level 3 teachers that can really help you identify your sensory preferences real quick. Okay? Last but not least, we are all a little right and a little wrong. Women are a little bit more unique because of hormonal changes in our cycle and pre and post menopause. I really would like you to take the time and see how you feel every day. What are you wearing today? Did you want tight clothes? Did you want heavier clothes? Go into the gym, lift something heavy, see how it feels. If it feels like shit, don't get mad. Grab a lighter weight and rep that shit out today. Just be clear, if you want to get stronger, you have to do things to make you stronger. There is great weight training and there is great Pilates. There is shit weight training and there is shit Pilates. And I don't blame the teacher. It's how your brain and body is receiving that information and executing it. Do not let anybody tell you you are wrong about your body. You are the expert at your own body. So keep up the great work. Maybe start lifting, or maybe you feel more empowered to do what you want to do. And take everything you hear on social media, even the things that I say, with a grain of salt, and figure out how it is meaningful to you, your body, and your life. So thank you everyone for tuning in for today's episode. And if you have any questions, I'm going to do some follow-up episodes about weight training and Pilates individual. I just wanted to kind of introduce the concept of kind of where my head's at lately. So any questions you have, email me, comment on social media, let me know, because I'd love to dig into this topic more.